Bad boys, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when we come for you?
Welcome to Now Playing's Bad Boys retrospective series.
You ain't with the bad guys, man. You with the cops.
This is history, baby.
Hosted by Arnie.
What are you, some kind of action junkie?
Yeah, is that what you want to call it?
Stuart.
Can you stay focused? What are you talking about? I'm focused.
And Jacob.
I get up early and I take it to the max every day.
Came with, is that your ass or your mama have reindeer? I can't explain it, but damn, so glad you came here. I'm still a sucker.
This is real. We got something for you. Shit could get you killed.
These podcasts contain detailed plot spoilers and harsh language.
Hey, talk polite in front of my little bombon, or I'm gonna chop your balls off.
Listener discretion is advised.
So I want you guys to do whatever you do, whatever it takes, but do it now.
Today we're discussing Bad Boys Ride or Die, starring Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, with Tiffany Haddish for like 30 seconds. I don't know why she gets the with.
You know, you can eat her pussy, I suppose.
And Joe Pantoliano, directed by Adil and Bilal. This is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing, here with my Ride or Die partners.
This is Stuart.
And this is the old soul whose titties Arnie and Stuart's baby soul suckle at, Jacob.
You know, sometimes I do feel like a donkey being abused.
Don't we all have those moments here.
Particularly when I have to watch movies like Bad Boys, a franchise that is so not made for me. And yet, I will reflect that in 2020, right before we all climbed into our homes and put on masks and didn't go see movies for a year, they had an enjoyable reinvention. I actually liked Bad Boys for Life.
The number one top grossing movie of 2020. Who could have seen that coming?
I mean, I always say it is the best movie I saw in theaters in 2020.
I mean, what else was there? I think Fantasy Island and Tenet were the only other things I saw. But COVID or not, I mean, I think, yes, it benefited by, coming out in January before a pandemic made the world stop going to movie theaters. But I also think that taking 20 years off and not inviting Michael Bay back did a whole lot to making me rethink the enjoyability of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith together in a buddy cop formula.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched Bad Boys for Life. Big mistake. You should have saved that name for this one. This is part 4. That was part 3.
I keep saying it wrong. I know. I keep calling this one 4. Yeah.
No, this is Ride or Die. Yes, but no, I went back and rewatched that one, and I think I maybe enjoyed it a bit more. I really was into Martin Lawrence's, just dad joke vibes throughout that film. It's only been 3 years since that, but it's been a long 3 years, so I feel I really felt that film. My problems with those first two, which I did not rewatch for this one, but it's just, they were immature. That one was about them being called out for being immature and having to grow up, so it was a nice progression.
I did a marathon. I watched all 3 Bad Boys films in a weekend before this one. I didn't feel like I needed to rewatch part 1 because I know it so well, but I wanted to rewatch part 1, and Marjorie had never seen it, so we decided we'd watch Bad Boys 1, and then 2 I knew I needed to revisit again in case things come up, and hey, they do come back up in here. Some of that mission from part 2.
Yeah, there's a big character that shows up in this one that I don't remember because I didn't rewatch parts 1 and 2.
I rewatched 1 and 2 and 3, and I still don't know who that character is.
I absolutely knew who he was. He was memorable to me for his outfits and his glasses, so I would have remembered him even without the rewatch, I think. But yeah, rewatching them reminded me how much I love part 1, how much part 2 let me down, and how fun part 3 was. And yeah, in different creative hands, the Bad Boys had a comeback after such a long time. It really felt like they were getting back on the right track. I didn't think Adil and Bilal would come back, though. I thought they would move on to other projects, but no, they're back here for part 4.
They did move on to other projects, Arnie. It's called Batgirl, and it's sitting on a shelf where it will never be seen.
I think it's been burned, in fact. It's not even sitting on a shelf anymore.
The same warehouse where they're finding all this information on who killed Howard. Yes, they need it. They had Ms. Marvel, which I don't think was a success, however much you guys say you liked it, and Batgirl. And yes, they could actually use a hit. Bad Boys, Ride or Die, Adil and Bilal need it. And Will Smith? Well, I don't know. You tell me. It certainly was the talk of Oscars that 20 minutes before he takes the podium to be the best actor of the year, Will Smith is proven to be a bad boy, right? Like, takes a big old smackaroo across Chris Rock for a really stupid G.I. Jane joke that nobody thought was deserving of that outrage.
Yeah, that happened in 2022 and was the moment. People watched the Oscars in 2023 because if you missed it in 2022, you missed quite a bit.
Yeah, I wasn't watching the Oscars until the text started flying about it. I'm like, I got to see what's going on.
It was wild. I mean, I just totally didn't see it coming, and it did overshadow the whole, like, who won that? I don't even remember. It's Will Smith's year to beat the shit out of Chris Rock and then get up there and say, I do it for love. Yeah, he just looked crazy, and he could probably use a hit as well.
Yeah, he had one movie come to streaming since then, right? He has one film that was already finished when he won the Oscar.
Emancipation?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I saw it. He was pretty good, actually. I thought he was okay. If you're up for it. I mean, it is a slavery drama, but I thought it was pretty good, but it didn't seem to do anything for... It ended up just being a punchline in a Chris Rock bit about him rewinding and watching. You know, it's a slavery movie, so Will Smith gets whipped, and I guess Chris Rock's favorite part of that movie.
Yeah, I did enjoy Chris Rock's stand-up special where he ripped on Will Smith. He got his revenge through words.
He did. The whole thing was a cultural moment, and now what does it mean? We're 2 years later. Will Smith has made one streaming film. Is he still a box office draw? This is a movie to test that theory.
Well, our movie's still a box office draw. It's been in the news a lot. Like, this was yet another, like, big summer blockbuster, seemingly, where I had a pretty empty theater.
Yep.
Yeah, are movie theaters still a thing? Apparently not in the greater Dallas metro area. I had tickets to see this at the Alamo Drafthouse, and if it wasn't for Marjorie's habitual checking of headlines, I'd have shown up and the doors would have been locked. All the Alamo Drafthouses in the Dallas area closed. There was no notice given to me.
Like, immediately.
Yeah.
Just to keep Will Smith out, or like forever?
Forever, it seems. And there was no notice given from Alamo. I had to request a refund for a ticket from a theater that didn't exist anymore. But I did, fortunately, find out in time to go see this at a Marcus Theaters. That seems appropriate for this one. I should have had a Mike's Hard Lemonade while at the Marcus Theater. And I saw this at a 6 o'clock showing on their big Super DX screen. Me and 6 of my closest friends, all middle-aged people sitting very far apart from each other. It felt like we were still social distancing. I couldn't believe how empty the theater was.
Oh, man, I had a packed theater then. I had like 20 people at mine.
40 for me, so I guess I win. IMAX, though.
Oh, you had the real sold-out one.
It was an IMAX, and, you know, it can accommodate over 200, and so it felt like a small crowd.
When I went back, I did see this movie twice. I went for a matinee on Friday. Now, school is out here. There should be people going to theaters. I had a private screening. It was just me and the bad boys in the DX theater for my second showing.
I hear both things. One, people just aren't drawn to the movies the way that they have in previous summers. And is that the fault of the movies being offered? Or is that a generational shift? And we're just seeing that with all our great streaming options, people are staying home. That I don't know.
I did think it was a little weird. I have teenagers in the house who like Mr. Beast, a very, very popular YouTuber. So when we were watching his newest video, it had a custom Bad Boys commercial where they're like, we've hacked the Mr. Beast feed. We're going to show you our trailer. And then like that video has a lot of commercial breaks in it for a YouTube video. But everyone was this damn Bad Boys trailer over and over. And I'm like, my kids don't know who Will Smith is. Like, why are you advertising to Zoomers?
Well, I think you answered your own question. Did it work is my question. Did they say, can we go see this Ride or Die thing?
No, they laughed. They're like, that looks incredibly stupid.
Well, this movie is expected to do fairly well. We are recording this before any weekend estimates are out, but based upon the Thursday night previews, they're looking at a $40 to $50 million opening weekend domestic only on a $100 million budget. I mean, $100 million, that is extraordinarily cheap for a summer blockbuster film. And if you make half that in a weekend here, plus you've got global, where I think action films do very well, I think people are embracing the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, I think Will Smith still, maybe, well, I guess we'll find out, has global appeal. I feel like that's what's going to help this one is international box office.
Yeah, but just to reflect, I think that other Bad Boys one made, about $200 million. It won't come anywhere near that.
No.
And they can't even blame, I don't know, maybe there will be a pandemic in 3 weeks.
Bird flu, yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, true that. So what does it mean? Is this a reflection of our times, a reflection on Will Smith, a reflection on a franchise that is now almost 30 years old? Hard to make it seem fresh anymore. Let's find out, Arnie. What happens in Ride or Die?
The Bad Boys have grown up. Mike Lowry, played by Will Smith, is now married to his physical therapist, Christine. Meanwhile, his partner, Marcus Burnett, played by Martin Lawrence, is recovering from a near-fatal heart attack. And now that he is a married man, Mike starts to have panic attacks when the tension gets high. Still, the two must ride or die when a series of wire transfers indicate the pair's beloved late Captain Howard, played by Joey Pantoliano, was corrupt and accepting payments from drug cartels. Leading this investigation is District Attorney Lockwood, played by Ian Grufford.
Mr. Fantastic, 20 years later.
That gray from his temples has spread to the top of his head in that 20 years. The Bad Boys know their old captain wasn't corrupt, and this is confirmed when they're texted a posthumous video from Captain Howard. He had spent many years investigating corruption in the police department and payment from cartels. He had put the files in a storage locker where Mike and Marcus could retrieve them. Mike and Marcus team up with fellow Advanced Miami Metro Operations, or AMO, members, tech expert Dorn, played by Alexander Ludwig, and weapon expert Kelly, played by Vanessa Hudgens.
What happened to Charles Melton? Got too good for it, I guess.
He got that DJ career off the ground that he was trying to do in the last film.
Okay.
Dorn retrieves the files from the locker. Meanwhile, Mike and Marcus investigate the cartel angle by going to Mike's son, Armando, who actually killed Captain Howard. Armando reveals that killing Captain Howard wasn't revenge, but actually a contracted hit. Armando doesn't know the name of the man who hired him to kill Howard, but could recognize the man's face. Mike and Marcus get Armando transferred from prison to Miami, where he can look through mugshots and identify the bad guy, but while on the transport chopper, the bad guys attack. They force the pilot to radio that Mike and Marcus are taking over the chopper to free Armando. Then the bad guys kill the pilot. Armando successfully lands the chopper, but now Mike, Marcus, and Armando are wanted fugitives. Hunting them is U.S. Marshal Judy Howard, Captain Howard's daughter, who wants to kill Armando as he's the sniper who killed her father. Mike and Marcus come to realize the head of this operation is D.A. Lockwood. But Lockwood sold the duo out, and now the bad guy James McGrath, played by Eric Dane, has taken Christine hostage, as well as Judy Howard's daughter, Callie. McGrath takes them to an abandoned alligator park where he wants to trade them for Armando and the files that implicate him. Mike and Marcus don't know who to trust other than the ammo team and their new captain, Rita Sakata, so those 5 cops, accompanied by Armando, go to attack the alligator park and rescue the hostages. A lot of action occurs, and in it, D.A. Lockwood is killed, and eventually Mike overcomes his panic attacks when he's slapped by Marcus, and Mike kills McGrath. In the aftermath, Judy has a chance to kill Armando and avenge her father, but Callie intervenes as Armando saved Callie's life. Judy allows Mike to help Armando escape by boat so he does not go back to prison, and in news voiceover, we hear that Captain Howard has been exonerated as credits roll.
As we start, they always got a skit first. They want you to remember it as comedy before we get anything close to plot. And last time they were rushing to a delivery room to find out that Marcus was a grandfather. Now, maybe you can guess by the white tuxedo, but they've got some kind of ceremony, and all Marcus can think of is stopping at a 7-Eleven and having some Skittles.
Yeah, this is just an extended cut of the trailer. Like, this trailer I've seen so many times. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, am I watching the trailer again? As, yeah, he goes to get Skittles. That's pretty much my impression of Bad Boys Ride or Die when I walked into the theater. I knew Marcus wanted some Skittles.
It's a fun scene. It's nice to see the bad boys back in the Porsche. You know, they say Mike Lowry has a lot of money. He is upgrading his Porsche between every single film and has a new black one here. I didn't catch where they were going. I noticed they were dressed up, and Mike keeps saying that Marcus is making him late, but Marcus, he's going to stop, get Skittles, get a hot dog, get a ginger ale, and much like the scene from Bad Boys 1 where the clerk thinks that Mike and Marcus are going to rob them. Here, a guy just comes in to rob the convenience store while Marcus is checking out. And yeah, it's the trailer scene right from the beginning.
I will say this. I do feel like I was worried. I even made the prediction. Martin Lawrence was not looking as good as Will Smith last time. And now that Will Smith had a young, hunky son, it almost felt like they were saying, we got a new bad boy. We don't need you anymore. This scene reestablishes, and I would even say, over Will Smith. Never forget that the first Bad Boys movie was Martin Lawrence billed over Will Smith. I feel like this is his movie, and he's pretty funny here. I laughed when he says, are the hot dogs fresh? And the clerk is like, I put them on yesterday. I was like, okay, Martin, this feels like you got your chops back.
I noticed he had an executive producer credit. Maybe Will Smith did too, and I just missed it. And I think they even toy with having Martin become the Marcus character in this. Like, it's almost a body switch movie at one point. Look, I'm glad Marcus is making me laugh, because if I'm not laughing, I'm not going to be having a good time in a Bad Boys film, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. I did look at the producer credits. Martin is a executive producer, whereas Will Smith was listed just as producer. So I think a bit more hands-on.
Oh, okay. So he had to do some work.
Yeah, exactly.
And Will Smith needs this more. I mean, can't we all just admit, like, he was the bigger star when they made that third movie. He didn't necessarily need to do that movie. Now he needs to do this movie to prove something. I don't feel like this is his movie. Even though we're rushing off to his wedding, I don't feel like he'll ever establish chemistry with this Christine. I think his storyline about panic attacks is way underserved and overshadowed by the near-death experience of Martin Lawrence. Like, they're both going to have health problems. I'm paying attention to Martin in that situation, and Will Smith just doesn't star in this movie.
The other thing that's going to grab my attention with this opening, and this is going to be a theme throughout, is like, let's just do weird camera shots. Like, this guy's going to come in to rob this convenience store, and we're going to go like first-person shooter point of view at times as he's holding that gun out.
Yeah, Adil and Bilal love to do crazy camera work. There's an ad going around on Facebook that actually shows from the end shootout a camera that's mounted on Will Smith, and Will Smith has to slap the camera to make it 180 to him, and then slap it again to 180 to a first-person shooter point of view.
Built just for him if it requires slaps.
That's true. I have to say that I do like Adil and Bilal's camera work more than I like Michael Bay's. They both are kinetic. They both keep that camera moving, but there's just something with Adil and Bilal that feels more inventive. It does feel a little more computer enhanced. It feels like there's a lot more CGI going into the editing to make some of this look seamless, but probably the biggest compliment I give to this film is its look and feel, and I credit those directors for it. But Stuart, you say you don't feel like this is Mike's movie. I'm going to disagree. I think this is an equal movie. I think that we'll talk about it, but Marcus's heart attack is forgotten pretty quickly.
No.
Yeah.
The whole movie is about him responding to that.
Yes.
We'll talk about it as we go through. I think it's played for comedy in lulls of the movie.
Yes, this movie is a lull, and it becomes Martin's movie because of it.
But we do start off at Mike's wedding. They play me because we see the bride, who we have never seen before. This Christine, we've never met her.
This is a new character, right?
Yeah, I even double-checked the actress's IMDb to make sure she wasn't tucked somewhere in a background scene of Bad Boys 3, but we've never seen this character before, and she's talking about the groom's tailored suits and watches and cars, and I'm like, they're trying to make us think Mike is getting married, but there's no way Mike could get married. Nope, they are starting this movie off by hitching Mike to literally the most generic female character they could ever create. I don't understand this choice one iota.
And then not make him a part of the story. Yeah, I agree. It's the physical therapy nurse, and she just sinks away from the story until the climax.
Again, I think they wanted to do a body switch movie here where Marcus becomes the tough guy. And again, they do these glimpses. I feel like Mike is, he's got a wife now, so maybe he's not as brave, but that never really becomes the film. That just hints at that. But yeah, this wife just goes away very quickly and just comes back at the end to be, a damsel in distress.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe how underdeveloped this character is. I feel that way about a lot of the characters in this movie, though. Underdeveloped, it's the opposite of the hot dog. This movie is undercooked.
Yeah. Well, Will Smith, I don't think he has much presence in this movie, but this does mark the return to his rapping career. I don't know if you hear the song that once we kick into the reception and Martin Lawrence is cutting it up on the dance floor a little too much, he'll end up falling face first over in cardiac arrest. But the track Light 'Em Up, I mean, it's classic DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince. If you remember Boom Boom Shake the Room, it's more or less a copy of that song.
I remember Boom Shake 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 the Room. I didn't catch it this time in there. I stayed for the credits the first time in case there was a bonus scene or something, but there were a lot of songs in this movie and I couldn't catch all of the names that scrolled past really fast. But, a wedding scene is always a chance to bring characters together. We're going to be introduced to absolutely everybody at the beginning, including that D.A. Lockwood. Like you mentioned, Mr. Fantastic from the two Tim Story Fantastic Four films, and he is dating Rita, who is now the new captain of Marcus and Mike. And the moment that Mike is talking to him and saying, should we call you Mr. Mayor? And he's talking about his political ambitions. I'm like, well, I know nothing about this, but he's the bad guy if he wants to be mayor.
Yes. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're going to introduce the new boyfriend to the girl that was Will Smith's love interest last movie, why do we even need to pay attention to that? Well, obviously because he has a role in the whole behind-the-scenes plot. But it is hilarious to me, in a meta way, how much time they spend with him, like, lurking in the background as if we do not know that he's behind pulling the levers.
It's so weird. He is always wherever Rita is. I'm like, this seems very bizarre. Like, this is not how a DA works.
No, yeah, they shouldn't be joined at the hip. I agree with you. And we also have this very clumsy... So, Captain Howard, I thought, I saw his name in the credits. I was like, did they not shoot him? Are they going to, retcon that he, got snipered in the last movie? No, they have, a giant cardboard cutout of him...
Yes.
...in the, wedding reception so that we know.
I'm sure some wedding has done that, but it seems odd. I've never been to a wedding like that had a big old picture of a dead person.
It's for the audience, really. Just to remind you who this guy is so that when we meet his daughter, who's a U.S. Marshal, Judy, and Callie, you wouldn't notice them otherwise, but this is how they're trying to draw attention to players that are going to become quote-unquote important in the second act.
More important than the bride, I'll give them that. Judy and Callie have more to do, but not much more. And yes, as you've said, this is where Marcus is going to have his heart attack. And again, an interesting visual way of representing it. He falls forward onto the floor and it's shown as diving underwater, and he gets to see people defibrillating him as if from underwater. And then we're going to have that old hoary trope of meeting the dead person. It reminded me of Black Panther because it's under a tree, the way Black Panther met his father in the afterlife by that tree.
That was my note as well. And again, why are you doing this in a Bad Boys film? But at least you're doing something artsy. You're doing something different. I would not expect a weird near-death, underwater sequence. So sure, why not go with it if you can make it look cool?
Yeah, I did not expect, I'll just put it bluntly, that Martin Lawrence would be taking over the movie. This is going to be about his vision quest and talking to Howard, who died in the last movie. They told us this was about young people. They brought in a whole crew of young people. They gave Will Smith a son that was going to partner with him on a new adventure. And this movie, shit, AMC ought to put out a adult diaper and not a popcorn bucket for this. This thing is old.
Yeah, they do drop a line, Rita does, about Mike getting married, and he says, I have some growing up to do, and she mentions he was 50 when they dated.
Yes.
So that puts him, he's getting all of those AARP letters in the mail. He's getting close.
Here's the thing, though, Stuart. Like, this is an old franchise. You said it's almost 30 years old. Like, you almost have to just lean into it at this point. You do anything to get people to see your movie in theaters. I don't know. Maybe they looked at the box office and it was older people that saw that. They didn't care about the young people, so that's why they leaned into it more. But I also feel like that is this audience.
Let me put it this way. Part of the reason why Top Gun Maverick was the hit that it was is that, yes, they brought Tom Cruise back to do his old shtick, but they also knew they had to have young equivalents. They had to have that young cast. Those characters there is a large segment of the viewing audience that is not going to care, no matter how well you make the movie, would not care about the over 50s. And this movie is all about the over 50s.
But Captain Howard is just going to say, it's not your time.
And he whispers something to him mysteriously.
Oh yeah, I just want a drinking game where every time a cliche is said by one of the characters, you take a shot, because I could have used some alcohol during this film.
I think we all could have, yes.
I mean, I feel like that's going to apply to this entire franchise, though. Like, that's not just this film's fault.
Here's what I would say, though, and what feels different, I've already kind of called it out, is that previously, and some of it was they were younger, there was a vitality to the action. You say Adil and Bilal are moving the camera around, maybe, but it does not feel like a lively action explosive. You say this movie's cheap, $100 million, I feel it. I feel it in the number of explosions. I feel it in the number of extras. I feel it in the lack of giant action scenes. Say what you will about Michael Bay, that second movie, hell, that first movie was wall to wall. And this movie is a sitcom that sometimes thinks it should dodder over and get in the car.
I guess I'm an over 50 because this formula is working for me. I'm laughing at Martin when he's talking about his ass being out as he goes to the roof of the hospital. And then, yeah, when we do get those action, I agree. Like, there's a handful of action scenes. They take too long to get there. But when we get them, I'm like, yeah, these are sufficient. They're working.
There's a lot in this movie, in my estimation. When I checked my watch the first time I watched it, because I'm like, we must be reaching the climax, and we were only an hour into the movie, I was like, I can't believe they shoved all that they did into the first hour.
Yeah, there's a lot of setup, a lot of characters, a lot to do. I would not say that this is jam-packed with action. I feel like there's maybe only 3 sequences that are big. And in many cases, again, count the extras. I was laughing sometimes when the U.S. Marshals were supposed to be chasing them with like 3 people. I think they had them run past the camera and then circle around and run past again.
Here's the thing, like, this is the future of action films, like, because no one's going to see movies, they are not going to have budget, so get used to, like, 3 gang members chasing you and a couple U.S. Marshals.
It feels like TV.
Hey, I remember growing up when a $5 million movie could excite me, and it was that kind of trickery being used. So give me a good movie on whatever budget. I'm not going to complain about the number of background extras as long as I'm entertained. And I am enjoying seeing these two guys again, even if I did just binge watch the first 3. Their chemistry is still working very well on screen when they're on top of that hospital. I'm chuckling. My audience of 6 is chuckling. We're having a good enough time. And then, of course, we're going to get the beginning of Marcus's wisdom from beyond when he's going to say, a storm is coming. You're going to have to make a choice. Just know you're good.
Yeah, too late. He already did, and he picked Jada over his career. So that's why he's in this damn movie.
And then we're going to go to a character almost as undeveloped as Christine, the wife, as we meet James McGrath, our bad guy in this film, and he's bad because he's bad.
He got a really bad manicure. It changed him.
They pulled out his fingernails, and now he works for them. I guess that's some kind of, can we call that Stockholm manicure?
He's going to a mob banker or a cartel banker so that money can be backdated, deposited into Captain Howard's accounts to implicate the dead cop as being a leak to the cartels. I understand these are words that are said in the movie. Can somebody explain to me what the fuck they're trying to do?
Gaslight. They are the ones working for drug cartels. And let's just jump into it. We will find out since 9/11 that the way that we have secured the borders, something relevant that people care about, 9/11 not so much, is that we let the drug cartels police them.
Yeah, except like that's not what caused 9/11. Those
No.
terrorists didn't get over the border, and
Nor do they police our borders now.
maybe that has happened, but I know that is a talking point to scare people about border issues, but like that's not what we're normally thinking.
Well, no, what they say is that the cartels have been allowed to get drugs into the country, and in exchange, the cartels give the police and FBI agents information about terrorist activities. Not that terrorists are coming over the border, but that cartels are wired into the terrorist activities.
Why would the cartel know about it if they're not coming over the border?
Yeah, let's just stop there. You could try to further explain, or you could just recognize how ludicrous this movie is. Yes, and how thin the storyline is.
I mean, again, though, is this more ludicrous than the previous 3 Bad Boy films? Like the last one, they fought a witch.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It is the most ludicrous of them all, for sure.
It is the thinnest plot and the worst character motivation of them all, because at least in Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, I understood they were drug runners trying to sell drugs, trying to steal drugs. They wanted drugs to make money. It's not the most inventive of motivations. I saw it every week on Miami Vice, but it is a motivation I understand. Here, these guys are working with cartels, but nothing they're doing is related to drugs. It's all related to setting up a dead police captain to take a fall for something nobody's looking into anymore. The only person looking into it was Captain Howard, and Captain Howard is dead. I don't see what the motivation is, where the ticking clock is for these bad guys to do something.
No, let me tell you the motivation. This is a franchise that has circled the wagons and says, screw the young people. We're going to live on nostalgia. We're going to mine what we've done in the previous ones. We're going to make Captain Howard the focus of all of this, when really, honestly, nobody needed that at all. Maybe Joe Pantoliano, but nobody else.
He wants a paycheck.
Yeah, but that they've done all of this. They've resorted to nostalgia and pulling at old fans' heartstrings instead of invention and new characters.
I guess I'll ask Arnie to verify that, because I have so little investment in this franchise. If I'm laughing and the action's decent, like I'm like, okay, I'm having a good time then. Yeah, the fact that Captain Howard's back, I don't see that as nostalgia. It's a character I recognize from the previous ones, but I don't care either way. Am I laughing? Martin, make me laugh. Talk about souls not having dicks. That's all I care about in this film. But does this feel like nostalgia to you, Arnie? Because you feel like you're more invested in Bad Boys.
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't say nostalgia. My thing was this feels very linked to part 3. It's the most sequel-y of them all because we're going to have the returning sub-characters and everything. It feels like just a few weeks have passed between part 3 and now, although apparently this relationship with the physical therapist came from somewhere. But I'm not seeing this as treading on nostalgia. I'm also not seeing it as blazing new territory, though. They're treading familiar water.
Ammo is barely in this. Armando is barely in this. This is a movie about Martin Lawrence moonwalking through traffic and saying, I can't die.
Yeah, but does Armando do anything better than Martin Lawrence moonwalking through traffic? What does Armando do in here that you wish he was more in the film?
I think that you need young characters. The way that they worked in the last movie is they helped check old bad boy ethics, who did policing the old way that we now very much frown upon. And these kids can get on computers and figure out things that used to take legwork, and they were more fun. They made our leads better. And in this one, they're superfluous because all we're doing is watching old men gripe and complain and make comedy out of their old problems.
I mean, I agree with you. That's why I like 3 so much, is because these 2 cocky guys that I didn't find, very funny previously or like their tactics, like they were checked. Here, I do feel like Martin, again, he's kind of the Mike character now because of that near-death experience. And so I feel like he's kind of satirizing Mike's extreme tactics. And so because they're poking fun at the stuff I didn't like, it feels like a similar thing to me. It's still a critique.
Here's my thing is it feels to me like this movie is pretty plot driven. Most of the scenes are going to be dealing with this bad guy and trying to clear Captain Howard's name and the machinations they'll be going through. But then, like I said, there's these lulls where we're just going to have comedy inserted. And yes, it could be excerpts from Will Smith's Fresh Prince show or Martin's Martin. It just, there's these comedy scenes like when Martin gets out of the hospital, goes home, finds out that his snacks are gone, blames Reggie for eating the snacks. Reggie is there. There's so much product placement in this. Reggie's eating some Cool Ranch Doritos and no, now he's a vegetarian. Did you guys notice? It caught me off guard. They replaced Teresa, Marcus's wife. It's a new actress in this one.
No.
I felt the difference.
Well, I don't know why she didn't come back. Maybe she has skin in the game with Chris Rock and the slap, didn't want to work with him. Maybe she just doesn't want to do it for whatever reason, but it doesn't really matter because that character has never mattered.
Yeah.
I noticed because it is played by a different actress, but I didn't feel a loss at not having Teresa Randall.
But Stuart, you said that Marcus's heart attack matters in this movie. Well, we're told right here that Marcus needs to change his life. He's not to have any salt, no sugar, no fat, no stress, no loud noises, no exertion. Nothing is going to matter. He's never going to have so much as a palpitation for the rest of this film.
Because he can't die.
Yeah, you and I are seeing the same movie, but your emphasis is entirely on the opposite. I am telling you this is a movie about Martin Lawrence running away from salads and grabbing Skittles and shoving it down his face, and you're telling me that this is about plot. I don't see that the plot matters at all. What I do see is what matters as far as entertainment value is mugging, comedic mugging, and it's Lawrence and not Smith who is carrying the heavy burden of it. He's funnier and he has more screen time.
I mean, I will say, I don't want to defend Will Smith, but he is more or less playing a straight man here.
He has a weird moment. So while Martin is doing all of that, he goes off with his new wife, brings her home to his, fantastic palace of a house. They have sex, and then we get, this is the only dramatic moment, but he has this talk with God where he's like, you've taken everything from me. I'm like, really? Like Captain Howard. Okay, and my son's in jail. Okay, and now you're going to take my wife, and I'm going to have panic attacks every time I think about my wife or something. It's so bad, and I feel bad for him. This is the best actor of 2022, and these are his monologues. This is his dramatic work. This is not a movie you make after you win that statue, and you would think, usually you can spot it, when somebody makes a movie after they win a statue, it's about them, and they have downplayed Smith shockingly.
And honestly, in the last film, I felt that Marcus got downplayed. So I do feel like this is one for you, one for me type of thing, where Martin does get more screen time here and more focus than he did in the last film. But hey, these are the bad boys. It's always been about the two of them investigating a case. And so the next day, and they just are streaming a news conference that Captain Howard is dirty, and that's how Mike's gonna find out.
Yeah. Again, if Will Smith does anything in this movie is he gets angry. He walks into a boardroom and just starts shouting at people. Again, you worry that someone's going to get slapped. And there is this guy named Grice or something like that. You want him to get slapped. They have this villainous bureaucrat.
Is that the FBI chief?
Yeah, it's Grice, yeah. I thought it was Price for a while, so yeah, Grice.
Yeah. And then even more amusing, Captain Howard's daughter comes in. You think she'd be upset about this, but in front of tons of witnesses, she's like, turning to Mike and saying, if I ever see your bastard son, I'm going to kill him point blank. I'm like, how do you have a job? It's amazing.
And why did you go to Mike's wedding and were so kind at Mike's wedding?
Yes.
And now, all of a sudden, when Mike is saying to her, we will clear your father's name, she's like, my father would still be alive if it weren't for your bastard son. You were just at his wedding. What happened?
Yeah, foolishness. Foolish setups.
I will say, when Judy, played by Ray Seahorn, if you watched Better Call Saul, she was amazing, twice nominated for an Emmy. Like, I got real excited because I'm like, oh, she was great on that show. She could really bring some dramatic chops. And I guess, people just need paychecks. I don't blame them. I need paychecks too. Yeah, this was my biggest disappointment just because her role as Kim Wexler on that show is so amazing.
Wow, if I was a fan of hers, I'd be really disappointed too, because her performance here
Yes.
is cardboard. She's not given much on the page. I mean, maybe she's only as good as the written material, but she's not given much to do. But what she does stereotypically.
Yeah, it's not Tommy Lee Jones. She will be given the Find the Fugitives formula that kicks in, at the halfway mark, but it is not a scene stealer role. And again, new characters, you could have made it that way. I mean, it could have been cast and made for a more youth-oriented audience.
And we get these intercuts throughout this to McGrath, and most of the focus seems to be on this hacker he has working for him, going for all of these files. She is so functional, it was making me think of the hacker from Madam Web, because I don't know that this character ever gets a comeuppance either. She just is here for expository scenes and then disappears when the climax comes.
Her name is Nicole, and she's played by the actress that's the star of the Terrifier movies. And yes, she has one scene. She's such a bad hacker, they need to go kill the banker just to get his password, and then she could do her shit. And then, she triggers something that is starting to send messages and videos of Pantoliano to Will Smith.
Yeah, on a personal laptop, which, I think that's, the easiest thing. Password 123, that's my guess to get into there.
They tried this in Scream 3. Jamie Kennedy had died in Scream 2, and he still was taping. They wanted him in the movie. And it's, again, nostalgia. We want Pantoliano here. This is about the old crew and tying back to things that happen in other movies. We'll get shout-outs to other characters from the saga. And yes, why we would need long videos of him doing not very funny monologues, I don't know.
Yeah, I love Joey Pants as an actor, and he's given so little to do in Bad Boys 4.
And they should, because he's dead. Don't give him anything.
I was actually shocked how much he shows up in this. I thought it was going to be one phone message and that's it.
He's not underserved. This movie is giving him the floor. He gets more scenes than Will Smith.
He's better than Will Smith, so I don't mind.
And yes, he's got this video. The Coke bottle giant is the key. Why doesn't Howard just give all the information in the first text message? He's like, we have to prove you're you. It makes no sense. This entire plot hurts my head. On the second viewing, I want to slap the screenwriter.
Yeah, I mean, just to boil it down, if these are his best cops, why he didn't have them investigate 9 years ago when he got wind of this? We're told, well, he gave it to 2 other cops and they got killed, so he protected Mike and Marcus. But that's, come on, man. Bad. I mean, there is implausible, silly, we're just Shaggy Dog story. I'm used to buddy cop formula where the mystery isn't so important and we're just watching people run from scene to scene and be funny. But this is very, very bad plot. It's not even working enough to justify why we need to go to an art gallery that looks more like a Nickelodeon game show. I will never know.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get more of the Shaggy Dog thing, going from location to location to figure out where the video is. But Coke Bottle Giant, why, is that a reference in 1 and 2 that I didn't rewatch?
Who is this guy? He's a basketball player that they gave a cameo to.
Yes, John Sally.
Who was his character?
In the first movie, he was a prisoner who Mike and Marcus had gotten locked up, but they needed a favor for him to hack a computer, so they pulled him out of the jail cell and brought him into the police office to do some hacking. And then he's used a lot more for hacking in part 2, and he wasn't in part 3. So now I guess he's out of jail and become an artiste of digital art, and he's going to mug for the camera, and he also won't speak clearly to Mike and Marcus. But this is, going to the art show where we get Marcus walking backwards in the traffic and just slowing this movie down.
I'm making this movie better, in my opinion.
Well, you get a Michael Bay cameo. He almost hits Mike with his Porsche. Michael Bay is known for his love of cars.
You're not seeing the nostalgia. You're not seeing we got to bring in the original director. We got to bring everybody back. Is this sweaty joke that they just keep thrusting in front of the camera?
No, now I disagree with you. Even though I have no investment in this franchise, like, I don't think that's a nostalgia trip. That is a joke. Like, it even took me a second. I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, oh, that was Michael Bay because he made those. Like, I don't know how many in the audience even figured out that was Michael Bay.
I agree. It's a nothing joke, but why are they doing it?
Which means it's not nostalgia.
No, I don't follow that logic. It's nostalgia because they're bringing everyone that has ever mattered. Why didn't they bring back Tia Leona? Is she just too busy, too good for it? Like, that character I would have recognized from the first movie. But to have, this basketball player in the funny glasses talking about all of this wild art and being called Coke Bottle Giant, it's meaningless and certainly not funny. And again, suddenly the room is filled with jelly beans and like it feels like slime or something that is spurting out of things. Like, it just feels like a kid's show at this point.
A kid's show with a headshot because the bad guy is there and uses, I guess, a digital scope to not even be looking at Fletcher, but get a perfect headshot.
What is the rating for this movie?
It is rated R. There's a lot of fucks.
Yeah.
Really? Huh. It felt so PG-13.
I thought it was a middle of the road R. There are some blood spurts, but not a ton. When Fletcher gets shot in the head, there is a little bit of splatter out the back, but, it's not a soft R, but it's not a hard R either.
And I just gotta say, Marcus's jokes land. Like, he gets that black jelly bean. No way. No matter how much he wants sugar, I agree. Black jelly beans, no good. Give me another one. Give me some of that fruit punch or whatever he's drinking.
Yeah, I agree.
Playing Barry White as the jelly beans fall all around him. Can't get enough of your love, baby. And then he's lapping up fruit punch like a dog. And this gives him a sugar rush because he can't die and now has sugar. I guess like Popeye to spinach. Marcus is to sugar. He's going to stand up and just start shooting everybody.
He's gonna do the Mike thing and double guns, one in each hand, shooting with them outstretched. And then, I don't know, Sam Raimi directs the movie for a while. And again, just weird camera movements where it floats around like Sam Raimi would do during this gun shootout.
Again, my prediction was this man wouldn't even be in the movie. This man is the movie. Mike, he's dropping his clip. He's falling over. It's not even easy when you're watching the movie to make the connection that what he's freaking out about is that he's got a wife at home that he wants to live for.
No, the fact that this is when he has his first panic attack for no apparent reason, it's only because of that dream and a brief clip. You have to put it together. This is really underdeveloped. It is not as bad as Tony Stark's panic attacks subplot in Iron Man 3, but it's almost that bad.
Well, and this is where I thought we were going to get that big switch because Martin Lawrence, he has that big dramatic scene where he pulls the two guns out after he gets his spinach fruit punch to give him power. And then, Mike, I take it, he's having a panic attack because he's a married man now and he's responsible for other people. But that kind of just goes away. He'll have some more panic attacks, but that never feels like it totally gets fleshed out.
No, it's not here. For it to be here, we would have to get to know Christine. And they just don't want to bring her into this movie.
Nope.
No, it is a terrible idea to marry Mike and not have it matter.
Right.
He has been a womanizer. Who is this woman who could actually tame the beast and bring in Mike Lowry? And she's a nothing. She's going to become a hostage later on. You could have had it be a girlfriend be the hostage later on. It doesn't have to be a wife. And that she's the motivating factor for these panic attacks. I need to spend time with Christine. I need to care about Christine to know why he cares about Christine, instead of just thinking that Will Smith looks foolish every time he has one of these attacks.
So again, my question is, Will Smith is the producer. Will Smith is still the bigger global box office star. Why didn't Will Smith fight for Will Smith and give himself a better part? Why is he being eclipsed? Does he not care? Does he not want to do this?
He needs to do this. He prioritized this after the slap. I mean, he had a lot of projects going on before the slap. Many were canceled. This is the one that kept going. He needs this. And, I could theorize, I could speculate. I don't have an answer to your question, but maybe he thought going dramatic was good. Maybe he thought showing weakness was good. Being vulnerable would show a different side of Will Smith.
And look, I saw King Richard. I thought he was good in it. I was rooting for him up until the slap, and then I didn't want him to win. But I thought he deserved that statue. It was interesting to see him play a tough love dad. Why not bring that into this movie? Because that's the storyline he is given. Let us not forget that Armando is in jail, and when they go to him, Armando remembers the man that hired... Okay, here's some retconning. The man that hired him to shoot... I thought he was there to shoot Will Smith.
That was his mom. His mom wanted him to shoot Howard.
Right. And he was there to kill his dad. He was there to kill Mike. And he just did that to Howard just to twist the knife as he's pushing in the blade.
Yeah, this is total retconning that this was a hired job and Armando was told to do this by his mother because his mother was approached by McGrath as a plausible deniability since you're killing all these law enforcement people anyway. Hey, kill this one for us so nobody ties it back to us.
But all right, Armando was a last-minute addition. While you're killing your dad, conveniently, a man we want killed for knowing about our cartel work is going to be standing next to him. And so, would you please shoot him? Thanks so much. Says strange man whose name I didn't catch, but I took his money and did it anyway. Okay. And so, all we got to do is get Armando to a place where he can look at mug shots and be protected from all of the violence that's coming at him. When he's in prison, lifting weights, there's a bunch of goons that try to take him out.
That's a fun fight, the way he uses his shirt to turn a barbell weight into a weapon and starts swinging that around.
Yeah, it made me wonder. I'm like, oh, I wonder if they thought of that. Like, yeah, that definitely seems like a weapon that could be used.
And a kettlebell. I mean, a kettlebell can fuck you up.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you can towel whip someone with 100-pound weight. I really doubt it. That feels like made for the movies. I guess it's kind of fun. It's a Jackie Chan-ish kind of take a prop and use it move. But again, this is a scene that I feel like Will Smith would have done in a Michael Bay movie. How interesting that, yeah, we have this young guy doing it. It just goes by so fast. Don't you want Armando in this movie? I'm here for it. I thought he was going to be the star of this movie. And I don't know why he isn't the star of this movie.
I don't really need or want a Fast and Furious family for the bad boys. I want Mike and Marcus. I want them to be the focus. I feel like there's too many characters in this movie. I feel like Armando pulls too much away from our main characters. I don't want more of him in here. The fact that he was in the end credits stinger of the last movie made me know he was going to be coming back, or otherwise they'd have even more retconning to do. But no, I want the bad boys. I'm not getting the bad boys. Like you said, the bad boy actions being given to other people.
This is what I'm saying. They're not doing it because they're too old for it. You truly want Martin Lawrence and Will Smith now. I get that you loved the 90s version, the early 2000s version. You still want to see 55-year-old, 60-year-old men do that instead of a younger cast that's more capable and more charismatic.
Hey, they did it just fine in 2020.
You say charismatic. This is why I do not want Armando. This is not charisma. This is not an actor who's grabbing my attention saying, yes, this is the next Fresh Prince or whatever. Like, maybe if this was a better actor, again, I don't know who the kids want to go see in movie theaters these days. I don't know, Timothée Chalamet. If that was the son, maybe that would be exciting. But this actor, nothing against him, but like, there's nothing that excites me about Armando.
And the writing he is given. Again, when I talked about cliches coming out of people's mouth, everything Armando says is cliche. Everything he says, you're in my world now. You know, things like that just, if you write them down as a screenwriter in the 21st century, you should then backspace and delete. Screenwriting software should have cliche finders that would let you know that this is an overused phrase, and it would squiggly line all of Armando's dialogue.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, Jacob, for me, is I agree this is not a winning performance. What I'm saying is I wanted the character that was set up last movie to take the mantle, and I think this actor probably could have done that if allowed. This writing, you know, being stuck on a box on a plane certainly is a great showcase. And too bad for Armando that he's only good for taking off his shirt and beating up people, but he will not get to be one of the bad boys. And I just thought that was the obvious place to go with him.
No, and also not bad boys are the ammo team. Like you mentioned, one is missing, but we do have Dorn and Kelly here. Vanessa Hudgens, again, third build. Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Vanessa Hudgens. Why? Whoever negotiated these contracts is a genius for promotion because she does nothing in this movie.
Because she means something to people that grew up on High School Musical. Because they are on Mr. Beast saying, please, young people, come see this. Why should young people see it? Oh, shit. Well, it's got Vanessa Hudgens for 5 minutes.
But they find a QR code in the art, so we get video number 2 from Joey Pants. And this one is more, here's what you need to do. And it all ties back to Bad Boys 2. Remember that big ecstasy bust?
Nope.
This is what I'm saying. This is exactly what they're universe building. Like, this is some Marvel movie, and we should have been paying attention because it all matters. When none of it ever mattered except the sense of rollicking fun.
I mean, yeah, they're doing the Fast and Furious thing, not just building up the cast, but trying to say, yes, this is an intricate plotted franchise that was all planned out from the beginning.
But the thing is, and this is an important, crucial difference, Fast and Furious has a tongue-in-cheek as it's doing that. Maybe Vin Diesel doesn't have his tongue-in-cheek, but I do think that, you know, when cars are flying around in space, they understand that this space soap opera is, amusing. And here, it just feels labored. It feels like no one's really enjoying it. Again, do you enjoy Armando? Do you enjoy Ammo? Maybe they could have had a moment. This movie isn't going to give it to them.
I feel like Dorn and Kelly could have had some scenes together that would have been enjoyable. They're given just enough to annoy me in this movie. I'm like, either give them a focus or don't take the focus away from the bad boys at all.
Agreed.
Yeah, they're given stuff to do, but whenever you want the moment, it's going to be Martin Lawrence, talking about how he owned Mike as a donkey. And again, that's working on me. Maybe because I'm an old dad, that's why it's working. Maybe because it's funny. I don't know, but those are the moments I'm waiting for because they work the best. So I guess to your point, Stuart, yeah, to appeal to young people, this movie is failing.
Yeah, it did a great balancing act last time that it is not approaching. And I am feeling, as we are hitting the midpoint of this movie, that it truly is ride or die time. This movie needs to show me something because it's been all over the place and it is kind of a shambles.
It is. I feel the way the scenes are assembled is really choppy. The fact that we go from an investigative scene to, Mike, in a previous life, you were my donkey, and I whipped you, Mike. It was just...
I scarred your soul.
It's funny, but it just doesn't flow in this movie. It feels like a commercial break from the plot.
Yeah.
This is when the audience, the meager audience I was with, was most engaged, though, is with the jokes.
Agreed. Absolutely. I want to check in with the 40 people in my crowd. The only time they're responding, it's not when this quote-unquote amazing helicopter shoot down happens. The action in this movie sucks. What gets people excited is Martin Lawrence, specifically one-liners. He's still got it, and he's better than he was last time, and he's trying to drag this movie across the finish line when it doesn't know where it's going.
But yeah, we do have an action scene that I would consider beyond competent when they decide to transfer Armando from a Central Florida prison to Miami. I think you could do that in a car ride, but they're going to get a Con Air chopper here with some U.S. Marshals to transport the prisoner in a cage like he's Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, this is the moment where I feel like we're just going to start referencing other movies. I'm like, Con Air, then we're going to go to The Fugitive, then we're going to get a Little Warriors going on. Like, I feel the messiness of this, and I guess, I like these references you're making, though. Like, okay, Con Air is a better film, but I like that one. So yeah, you're doing a little Con Air riff. That's fun to me. Maybe that's the nostalgia that I'm tapping into.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is kind of like when you watch a variety show and they do skits and parodies.
Yes.
It's like, I have an idea for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll throw that away and do something else that's trendy, or not even that trendy, because Fugitive was 30 years ago as well.
Yeah.
But again, I'm at ride or die. I'm like, I need this to be a great scene. I don't need it to be just pretty good. I need to be like, okay, I'm back in this, or I'm kind of done with this movie. And Arnie, I don't know, you say more than competent? Competent feels about where it's at.
I like the camera movements again. This is where I'll go with the more than, is Adil and Bilal are able to film it in an exciting way. That camera's whipping all around the chopper. We get Marcus hanging upside down as the chopper's careening around because McGrath slit the neck of the pilot, had the pilot radio that it was Mike and Marcus doing this, and then the bad guys parachute out, and yeah, Armando is falling out the back of the chopper in his cage, and Marcus is literally on the roof of the chopper, upside down, holding on a rope, trying to save Armando's life. Listen, this isn't tremendous action.
It is not.
But it's beyond your average.
It's green screen work. It looks like what I would expect a show to look like. It looks like Ms. Marvel.
It's what I expect most. Again, this is where movies are going. We're not even going to see helicopters in the future because they're going to be too expensive to put in a film. Yeah, this is not Mission Impossible. This is not Tom Cruise. This is more of your standard action scene when you have a more modest budget, even if it is $100 million.
You're telling me you don't miss the $50 million in pyrotechnics that would have been here at any other time?
I don't know. This thing blows up. I don't know what $50 million more in pyrotechnics would have done to the explosion.
I'm enjoying the fights for what they are, and I'm not really wishing for more explosions at this point in the film. Now, later on, the climax of this film is going to be paltry. I'm going to feel it when we get to the final climax. But here, we're just at the 1 hour mark, and midpoint action scene. I think this is pretty decent. It's just a little too chaotic for me. The camera's moving too much. I have trouble figuring out where everybody is, but Armando, this made me laugh. I don't know if it's supposed to be a joke. Marcus asks Armando, "Where did you learn to fly?" And Armando's like, "I'm a drug dealer. That's all you need?"
I was wondering that too, because I'm like, that dude just got in the seat and is flying now. How? Like, is this the Matrix? Did he jack in and get those instructions downloaded? But no, I don't think a guy selling like pot down at the corner like knows how to fly. He's a drug dealer.
No, yeah, he's like a drug dealer like in Scarface when they, throw the guy out of the chopper in a noose. But that's why he knows. Maybe it's kind of funny. I don't know. Again, Armando for me is one of the many lost opportunities. Armando should have been developed. This is a one-liner when it should have been a character.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna crash, and he's just one-dimensional as well as one line. I mean, he has no love for Mike. When Mike went to him initially to get information about Captain Howard, he's like, "How much time will this get me off my sentence?" I mean, Mike is reaching out, trying to connect with his son, and Armando wants none of it. Now, I could take that character arc for him in this movie, but it's so flatly acted that I don't go with him on this journey. And, when they land, take a shot, because Armando's going to just be like, "There is no us."
Yeah, but Will Smith isn't very good either. And again, he just won an Oscar for being in a tough family drama. And so why can't he pull these scenes off? Why can't he make his young cast member better? Because he is the best actor to be doing this kind of work. And it's because I feel like Will Smith is checked out. We have, again, Martin Lawrence being Marcus Winfrey, trying to do all of this. And I mean, he's the funny one when they wind up trying to steal clothes from a redneck. This is the thing I remember from the trailer.
This was in the trailer as well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The only thing I remember about the trailer is this extended bit with them putting on a Reba McEntire shirt and then trying to think of what one of her songs might be, which I admit, I can't either.
I can name one of her songs, Bad Boys, because she actually sang it.
Is that her?
That's what I read online. I looked it up online, and yes, Reba did a cover of Inner Circle's Bad Boys as they drove away from the scene.
Yes, when that comes in and it's a female voice, I'm like, I bet that's Reba. They had to have got her.
Okay, I didn't put that together, but of course I noticed the honky-tonk version, and I guess, it's a redneck joke. So, it is what it is. It's a skit, and it is Martin Lawrence that is stealing the scene.
I think the two play off each other well. Having just rewatched the first three, I'm not noticing Will Smith being appreciably different in this movie than the other films. And when I think of that scene, I think of the two playing off each other, trying to come up with a Reba song and doing all of that together. Marcus isn't a one-man show here.
Yeah, but Will Smith's role was to be sex appeal and to be the tough guy. He was less of the funny one, and maybe he's quote-unquote just as funny in his bickering here. Again, this is his scenes, and we have more than two of them, of him trying to reach out to his son and say, "I'm sorry," and try to repair this relationship. They go nowhere.
I'll agree with you here, Stuart. I do think he's better acting off of Martin Lawrence than he is ever acting off of Armando. And I haven't seen King Richard. And again, I know he's done dramatic stuff. That's not the Will Smith I know. So that stuff, kind of falls flat. But he seems very comfortable when he's with Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm not dinging him for that. He knows how to get through the skit. He is not bringing anything to this character. This is a character that is trying to reconnect with a long-lost son and be newly married and suffering through panic attacks. And all of that is a joke.
It is, but I'm going to blame the writing of this terribly. They needed to slow down and focus Mike's character more. There's just too much for him to do, and it's all underserved. The panic attacks, the marriage, the reconnecting with the son. Do one of those things and do it well. Don't try to juggle all three of those balls and let them fall.
Well, when balls are falling, I guess you go to Tiffany Haddish because people usually love her. She's usually good for one scene in a movie. She usually has one good laugh, and she gets me here when we go to the Dayglow strip club, and she's like negotiating, yeah, I'll give you new clothes, yeah, I'll give you a phone, but you have to eat my pussy. Wow.
She's like, yeah, I'll give that to you, but you got to give me something. I leaned over to my wife. I'm like, eat that pussy. And then she says, eat that pussy. Like, it's Tiffany Haddish.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't see that coming. My eyes bulged out a little bit. It took me by surprise. And then here, yeah, I do think Martin Lawrence steals it because he's doing the negotiating. Well, Mike's a married man, so he just has to lay there and stick his tongue out, and you're going to have to do the work.
No, because Will Smith has to be like, I would never cheat on Jada. How could you ever imply that I would step out of my marriage?
Meanwhile, Jada's running around with Martin Lawrence's son's friend or something.
Exactly. And yeah, again, I would really love to know what's going on in Smith's head because he has all the power in the world to make this movie all about him. And at every given turn, he's sitting back with his arms folded, looking grumpy and being like, I want to do this. You know something else I don't want to do? The Black Eyed Peas. What is this garbage remake of Genesis's Tonight, Tonight, Tonight?
I didn't even realize it was them. I realized it was some dance remix, and I know that's kind of the in thing to do. There was just a new version of What Is Love that came around. I know they're bringing back old hits with new beats, but it wasn't until the end credits that I realized this is the Black Eyed Peas. I hadn't thought about them since Fergie left. I didn't know they were still a thing.
They're not still a thing, but DJ Khaled is. He's coming back into the movie at this point. This is when we find out that everyone is betraying Mike and Marcus because there was a bounty put out on them that McGrath has said, he's mad that they survived the chopper crash, and so he's going to pay anyone that could get to these guys $5 million.
We forgot to mention DJ Khaled in our last review. He was in part 3 as an informant, but not a very good informant because Mike had to beat him up with a meat hammer in order to get the information out of him. He's back now for reasons and wants his revenge and is going to be killed for it.
Well, this is what I call the warrior section of the film, because now we got a bunch of gangs going after the bad boys because of this bounty. And, one gang gets them, and then, DJ Khaled comes in, throws that Molotov, sets the car on fire. I'm like, that's one thing with this movie. I'm like, okay, what is the gist of is it going to be the fugitive and they're just on the run the whole time? Is it going to be a bunch of gangs chasing them? Every 5 minutes, this movie's just going to change on you.
Yeah, and I don't even know, are they back in Miami?
I assume.
Because at one point, the U.S. Marshal, Judy, is just telling off Rita, don't think you can get involved in here. We're not in Miami anymore. So these people ran back on foot from where?
Yeah, I don't know how Judy got there so fast or how much time has passed. I mean, Armando did steal a truck from the Rednecks, and so they've been on the road.
True.
For, I guess, a full day, because it was nighttime when they were camping. It was the next morning when they hit the Redneck place, and it's nighttime again. So I guess in that time, Judy could get back to Miami easily enough.
She's a U.S. Marshal. She's got a helicopter or something.
They're throwing these Molotov cocktails at the bad boys' van that they're stealing. I didn't know windshield washer fluid was flammable. This is a PSA.
I had to look that up. It is. It's got to be over 90 degrees or something, hitting that fluid. But yes, it is flammable.
It's a great moment watching this van on fire drive around with the three of them.
Yeah.
It looks like a Ghost Rider vehicle at some scenes. I was thinking.
It is engulfed in flames.
Yeah, a satisfying image. I don't feel like the action of this whole movie, it kind of ends very abruptly. They just kind of crash and run away. Again, $100 million as opposed to $200 million. We would have had a different kind of scene, but it's a great image.
Well, it's an okay image. The CGI is showing a little bit. First of all, I lose track of Armando when they're driving away in the van. I'm like, okay, so here's Mike and Marcus. What happened to Armando in the whole thing? He's in the back of the van, and then when a Molotov cocktail or the fire spreads in, he has to kick some boxes out. And yeah, that CGI fire is not looking good. You can easily tell what's real flame and what is fake flame that won't get the actor burned while he's kicking boxes out of the van.
I'd be surprised if those boxes were even real. They CGI everything in these days.
So at the end, they wind up at Ammo, who's been doing all the police work all along. They've gone through the warehouse. They have all that information, and they've been getting busy. We will find out that the young kids have hooked up, Dorn and Kelly.
And that matters to me and this movie not at all.
Yeah, well, Marcus likes it. Again, it's an opportunity to grab Doritos, sit back and watch the dysfunction. But yes, it is a very thin reason why. And if you did watch Mr. Beast and come here for them, how betrayed you must feel that you had to sit through, 70 minutes of a movie to finally have them be important.
This is another weird underdeveloped theme. I feel like underdeveloped, I think, is the theme of this film. But yeah, you have all these couples like Rita and Lockwood, and yeah, Dorn and Kelly, and Will Smith got married in this one. Like, it felt like, is this about relationships? You got a lot of relationships going on, so I'm trying to draw connections here, but it doesn't seem like it really matters. So I don't know why you draw attention to Dorn and Kelly being in a relationship, except you want to create some tension with Armando because he makes a pass at Kelly.
Because they can be half-dressed when they enter the door.
That's why, okay.
But they have gone through that warehouse. They have a bunch of mugshots, and Armando eventually sifts through them. I don't even know where he finds the McGrath one. It looks like it's CCTV footage.
Yeah, we get a montage of them putting up the cliched board with all of the links and people who we've never seen before. Their faces are up on it, and we'll never see those people again. And finally, yeah, Armando, he's just sitting there for most of it. You've got all these people moving in fast forward. Again, another Adil and Bilal camera trick of everybody's moving in fast forward while Armando is just sitting there immobile. But he finds a photo. I did get a laugh out of Dorn's line because he goes and scans the photo and Dorn's like, do I walk into your house and show you how to make cocaine? I mean, there are funny lines in this movie. I do get some chuckles.
I do too. I think I've called out when I've been entertained. It's not been a horrible ride, but it does feel like it's dying. If it's ride and die, I think it's happening simultaneously as this movie is going on.
And so now, just because they found the photo, instantly Super Hacker Dorn can face match the guy. James McGrath, a former ranger who was a hostage of the cartel, gave up his group while being tortured.
Here's my question. Why does McGrath have to be tortured and part of the cartel if the U.S. government's already working with them to stop terrorists from coming over the border because of 9/11? Like, this is the part that confused me. I'm like, why can't he just be part of the government that knows about that deal and is working with them?
Maybe it's not indicting the president and the higher-ups. Maybe he represents the U.S. government, that is allowing this. It doesn't go any higher than this character, who is played by Eric Dane. I guess, where's he from? Desperate Housewives or something like that? Like soap operas? This guy doesn't have a whole lot of cachet. I know him from a bit part he has in Euphoria, playing sort of a dirty dad, but he doesn't have much presence here as a bad guy. And frankly, none of the Bad Boys movies have ever had great villains.
Eric Dane, I remember him from being in X-Men 3. I remember, just he was a minor character in that.
Okay.
And his face looked familiar to me from it. And also his role in Euphoria. I've been watching that show lately, so he was recognizable to me. He's much better in Euphoria than he is here, though, because, again, an underwritten character who I do not understand. He's bad for bad reasons. I don't know why now they're trying to frame Howard. And it's honestly the framing of Howard that brought this shit down on them. If they had never framed Howard, then the bad boys wouldn't be looking for him and he wouldn't have to go cop killing.
Right. And yeah, framing a guy that's been dead for 3 years, also not a genius move, but whatever. Yeah, who cares? What I'm saying is nothing has happened in the last 80 minutes to convince me that this movie is anything other than Martin Lawrence being funny.
Well, we're going to get another action scene here that is pretty decent. What happens is Mike calls Rita, tells her, hey, we have all the evidence we need. We have the files. Well, somehow this gets back to McGrath. How could that ever happen? Oh, yeah, the DA was in that scene with Rita, so we know exactly how it happened.
He's in every scene with her. I think he goes to the bathroom with her. It's crazy.
Yeah, they are an annoying couple. Yes, we are just counting the minutes until this reveal happens and she can finally kill him.
And so this has McGrath sending troops after Marcus's family to get a hostage. And Reggie, who knew Reggie would ever get a scene that mattered? Reggie, I looked him up. I don't think he's acted outside of the Bad Boy films. And I thought he maybe couldn't act because he's always just so blank-faced. But he did some training for this film, I think.
Yeah, again, nostalgia. This is what I'm talking about. Reggie has been here for a while, and yes, I like that they give him something to do. It's not, again, maybe you guys are going to compliment this action. I think it looks pretty bad, but, you know, it's fun to watch a couch potato reveal himself to be Superman.
I'm just glad these directors are having fun with their camera shots and their angles and their setups. Like, you say a lot about cliche, but it is the moments of not cliche of just like, hey, let's do a crazy camera angle for this one that is keeping my interest. It's keeping me awake during this.
What I really liked is the transitions, because what we're doing is a guy who's been playing video games the whole time, now being watched by people on a Ring cam. Notice they name drop its Ring. I think there's a product placement there. But the ammo guys, the bad boys, are watching on a monitor, and the camera will zoom in on that monitor.
Through the monitor.
And then the interlacing will go away, and now we're in the house. And then we're going to cut back, and we'll do this multiple times through the monitor. I just think it's an inventive transition. It is an action scene we've seen so many times. The guys enter the house. The good guy kills them with their own guns. We've seen this a million times. It's the camera work that keeps it inventive and lively, and the irony that it's Reggie doing it.
Though he is a Marine.
And Marcus screaming, chitty, chitty, bang, bang, motherfucker. I mean, again, the audience is laughing when Martin Lawrence responds.
My snacks are your snacks.
Yes.
Audience loved it.
Yeah. We have one SWAT team averted. No one's going to get Martin Lawrence's family. But Mike, tell me why that if those are fugitives, they don't already have U.S. Marshals surrounding their properties, protecting them, keeping all of their family under surveillance?
You already talked about how few extras are in this.
Yeah, they don't have the manpower. Literally, there's 3 people on that force.
They've defunded the police. There's not enough of them.
They really did. They sure did.
And in a really weird connection, Callie, who is Captain Howard's granddaughter, Judy's daughter, goes to visit Christine, who is Mike's new wife.
Are they neighbors?
Are they close friends? I mean, Judy seems to hate Mike.
And yet, there's a framed photo of them all together, so...
Yeah, she's gonna remember their connection when she sees that picture.
I don't know. Yeah, it's awful.
It is really poorly written.
Yeah. Anyway, we have to have damsels in distress, and now we got 2 of them. Christine and this chick means that we can get to the climax now. That Rita will expose her lawyer boyfriend for who he is in the elevator fight, and everyone can strategize how to wrap this all up.
Yeah, that's a pretty brutal fight when the DA starts really hitting Rita hard. I was like, man, that's brutal. And it's Kelly. This is her moment. Kelly gets in there and gets the DA in a headlock. You'd think it'd be Dorn because he has all the muscles, but Kelly's the tough one.
And they give him a little bit extra. Rita has a revenge moment of getting him talking. Did we ever matter? Well, it doesn't matter to Rita, but they have a computer voice simulator, and they get Grafad talking just long enough so that Will Smith can call and tell McGrath, meet us. How do they even know that he's at a alligator amusement park in the Florida swamps?
I assume Lockwood told them when they tied him up.
Okay. Why are they there? Why would you move into a giant alligator farm?
That's been his base since the very beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
It's just his James Bond evil base, is that there've been alligators in the background the whole time and everything.
You never watched like cartoons? Like, yeah, the villains always got a cool base like this, some abandoned amusement park.
I don't think of Bad Boys having great villains with secret layers like that. Yes, James Bond, absolutely. I get the reference. This movie, yeah, it just felt really bizarre. I know why they did it, because it's fun to watch giant prop alligators and real alligators attack people, but
yeah,
as logical as everything else in this movie, that we're all storming a swamp.
Yeah, I don't know why this is a complaint that we're going to find a way to introduce alligators into the film.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about that. I just think that it's a silly layer.
And so I didn't quite, on 2 viewings, understand what's going on with this deep faked voice message. First of all, if this deep fake technology exists, I'm pretty sure all 3 of us have talked enough that we don't need to review movies anymore. We can just deep fake our voices.
Oh, can we get this, please? Yes.
In time for Bad Boys 5? Yes.
I'll just send you, a text file of what I would say.
But then I guess the whole thing is Lockwood tells McGrath, you fucked up. We have to get the hostages to Cuba. I'm going to show up on a plane tomorrow to take you and the hostages. And I do love this. Mike gives this big speech. There's nobody I can trust who's not standing right here. No SWAT, no backup, just us. And this guy who we need to pilot the plane who we have no idea who he is.
And Judy will somehow know that they're all doing this and storm the place at the end, too. I don't know why she's involved. But let's go to Gatorville, because that's where the quote-unquote action all happens. This is where the terrible choice is going to happen, where Will Smith's panic attacks get addressed, where Martin Lawrence's God complex gets undone. This is the climax of this film.
And Mike has a panic attack when he's supposed to be the sniper. He has McGrath in his sights, I think. I'm not a sniper. It seems like a risky shot because Christine's head is pretty close to McGrath's head all the time. It wouldn't take much of a sway for that to switch, but I think Mike had the shot, but his panic attack won't let him take the shot.
What was the plan? So Armando sneaks in, he's like under the dock, and there's more than just McGrath. There's like a bunch of guys. So you shoot McGrath, I assume they shoot the hostages. Was Armando supposed to like somehow hurry and rescue them?
There wasn't that many. There's like 2 guys on the roof. Again, there's barely any extras in this movie, but I get your point. They all have positions. You come in from the left, you be under the dock, you be on the road, but how they were actually going to handle getting the hostages, I think the hostages were just supposed to be allowed on the plane. It got screwed up because
Mike couldn't take the shot.
Well, but the women also needed to be in the plane before any gunfire happened, right?
No, he was supposed to take the shot while they were walking them out.
No, they were just going to kill McGrath.
But you're right. So that's a terrible plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What was the plan?
So those women had no prayer. They were doomed.
If Mike had taken the shot, then they would probably be killed, unless you just assume all the goons would lose their motivation if their boss is killed.
But instead, Armando is like under the dock, and I guess the alligators could smell him, and people could see alligators going under the dock, so they're like, there must be people there?
Yeah. It's an ending. I don't want to call it a good one, but a lot of things are happening. Everyone has something to do, starting with Will Smith, like seeing Pantoliano again, because he hasn't had enough scenes in this movie, and gets wakened from the daydream by the joke we all knew was coming, right? They had to make a slap joke. I don't think this is the best one they could have made.
No, I wanted a way better. Like, they have a wedding at the beginning with a drunk Martin Lawrence that he starts to say something about Christine. Watch it. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. Like,
yes.
Perfect moment.
There it is. I like your version better.
I think this is Will Smith trying to be contrite. The only way to address it is quietly and to make him the victim. You can't make him the aggressor. You can't have him threatening to slap Martin Lawrence. You don't want to think about Will Smith slapping people. But the first night I watched this, the 6 people I was with all laughed uproariously and loudly. You would have thought I was with 20 people, not 6 people.
I was with 20 people and they all laughed uproariously with the slap.
Again, I need nasty Mike. I need nasty Mike. It's Lawrence.
Yes. I'm laughing. I'm sorry. I'm laughing too.
And he slaps Will 4 times. So again, I think this is the best way you can have it is Will Smith saying, I deserve to be slapped. Here you go. You can see me be slapped.
I hope they did a bunch of takes.
I actually think they shouldn't have done it. I think they should have just let it go and not referenced the elephant in the room. You know, the press have been told with interviews, they haven't been specifically told don't ask about the slap, but they've been told don't ask about old stories, focus on the movies, and let's just let it go and try to focus on this movie. By having Mike get slapped, it's taking me way out of this movie.
No. There's a rule, especially in stand-up comedy, when there's something, if you look weird, you got to address it. Mm-hmm. Everyone's thinking it, you address it to relieve that tension. And it took me a long time to relieve that tension I had with the slap to finally get some kind of joke here.
No, Dylan Bilal needed to slap Will Smith and say, "God damn it, act. You want a goddamn statue. Remember that."
But they're going to bring in my favorite song on the soundtrack, not Reba's version of Bad Boys, but some Run DMC. You want to talk about a throwback. You want to talk about nostalgia. Peter Piper, not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good, is playing while the bad boys are back and start shooting. You say no extras, but there seems to be a limitless amount of goons here. There's like 15 guys coming at them.
Yeah.
It's like the same 3 guys just shot from different angles.
Yeah, I'm standing by that. If we could pause and show it, there's not that many people at this alligator farm. It's mostly trick shots.
They all get shot 17 times, though.
Yeah. And you're right. What happened to the hacker girl? What happened to the guy that was wearing the bulletproof vest that was running away that gave Will Smith the panic attack? There is like a big muscle guy that's going to be chopped up by a plane propeller. When Lockwood tries to get away in the plane, Rita shoots him down, and he's the only goon I could really recognize in this climax. Everyone else felt like from central casting that had not been on the set before.
Yeah. And Rita shoots down that plane because Lockwood is escaping. Again, does nobody care about this poor pilot on this plane? She
No.
shoots down the plane to kill Lockwood and the pilot.
Do you care?
It is kind of funny.
Yes, it really is just bugging me that, couldn't Armando fly the plane? He's a drug dealer.
Right. I'm with you. Yeah, it could only be us and some old man that belongs on a sitcom from the 80s. I agree. Very strange. My Wilford Brimley is here.
I just thought it was funny because in the last film, they had a helicopter crash into the building at the climax. This time they got a plane.
Look, it's an alligator farm. We're all waiting for it. And eventually, Martin Lawrence is going to do it. He's going to fall through glass, wind up in the tank, try to, be gone, Gator. I rebuke you.
It's not his time.
Yeah, not his time. This is the thing that finally snaps him out of his Messiah complex. He can die because that thing locks. I don't know how he survives, actually.
I thought for sure, I remembered, Stuart, you said in the last movie you didn't think Marcus would be part of the action for this one. I thought they were going to take off his arm. It looks like he loses an arm to that gator's mouth.
It's going to be Captain Hook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought for sure there was dismemberment occurring. It's only because this movie is hella silly that he escapes just with a minor flesh wound.
Yeah, Mike jumps down and impales the gator, but it will come back. It'll eat Lockwood. They'll continue on their chase to try and get Christine. This is, again, never forget we were told something bad was happening and Mike would have to make this impossible choice. Does anyone believe that Christine or Marcus won't survive this scene?
No.
No.
He's going to shoot Marcus and move on.
I never expected that they would rip off Speed.
I know!
I couldn't believe it that they took Keanu Reeves' suggestion of shoot the hostage. That was all that was going through my mind as Mike shoots Marcus there and then shoots McGrath.
I was also thinking about Argyle because we just talked about it last week. But yes,
I don't ever want to think about that.
it's a cliche. It isn't particularly inventive how they get out of this supposed trap of he's going to have to kill one of them to save the other. It would be interesting if they had actually made that a choice in Mike's life. And I'm not saying really kill one of them, but if he had to, I don't know. Again, I think everything I'm saying is I wish Will Smith had done something dramatically interesting in this movie.
I wish they'd written something for him to do. Would we have shed a tear if poor Christina died?
No. Nope, not at all.
And meanwhile, I thought the choice might be Christine or Callie, because Callie is also a hostage here.
Yeah.
Mike sends Armando to save her, and we get some knife fight action, which, again, I'll use the C word, competent.
Yeah, but we all saw where this was going. So if Judy's rushing to the scene, picking up bloody friendship bracelets and trying to find her daughter, we all know that Armando's going to save the daughter so that she can't kill the guy that she told us in Act 1 she was going to kill.
I thought thought Armando was dead. He gets stabbed so many times it looked like to me and like is bleeding a bunch. I thought, oh, you want your dramatic scene, Stuart? Here it is, the death scene with father and son. I thought that was coming.
It's worth asking. I know that this movie's too light for it. Dorn also gets shot. But shouldn't someone have died of consequence? Don't you do something dramatic to make a twist? Otherwise, it just feels like
a Bad Boys movie.
An episode of a TV show.
A Fast and Furious movie?
No, the people die in that. Well, and then they come back as
Yeah, exactly.
friends in the next one. But, I mean, they at least kill them in the movie. You know what I mean? And here, no stakes.
I agree that somebody probably should have died. I don't know who. I don't know when. Armando seems like dead weight that they should shed in this movie so they don't have to worry about him in other movies.
They're sending him south.
Yeah, instead, Mike is going to help Captain Howard's murderer, a wanted fugitive, escape. Now, Mike, I get it's his son, but at the end of the last movie, we saw a Mike who's like, I'm going to try to help you, but you're going to have to pay your debt. You've done a lot of bad things. Now this Mike is like, take a boat and head south. Now we have actual corrupt cops doing things that need to be investigated.
Bad boys for life.
But I've always said these were corrupt cops, and you loved 1 and 2, and that's when they're the worst. I don't know why it bugs you now. This is just how bad boys are.
Maybe because I'm just not into the movie.
I'm just wondering, you got this evil villain lair, like the U.S. Marshals are there, I assume, like just off camera, it's surrounded. I don't know how Armando's getting away.
More, we immediately start getting news footage voiceover. Captain Howard exonerated. Former Army Ranger McGrath guilty. I know these are dumb movies and I'm not supposed to ask too many questions.
Yeah, I don't know why you're complaining about this.
But what I'm asking is, there's a lot of dead bodies, but where's the proof of anything to prove to FBI agent Grease?
They got the files.
Yeah, they have evidence from a warehouse that was sitting around since Bad Boys 2.
But they needed the files and Armando. Armando had to identify the guy and testify he was the one who ordered Howard's death.
You saw that whole board they put up with the conspiracy strings connecting everyone? They got pictures of them. They got the evidence. I am so not worried. I don't need this to go on any longer and, yeah, be logical all of a sudden.
No, I wanted it to have been logical from the start, and that it ends on the biggest illogical moment. It's just frustrating me because, believe it or not, Bad Boys has had better writing than this. I am disappointed in this writing, even for a Bad Boys film.
Yeah, part 3 was better.
Yeah. And you say this is where it ends. I feel like it is the end of the movie, and what we get next should have been an end credit stinger. There is no end credit stinger. They've decided to put it right here at the end, and we have another sketch about which of the two is going to control the grill on a public park, and the winner is Reggie, because he's kind of creepy.
And all I could think of is, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do at the barbecue? It's all I could get.
And you know what? I was happy with the way this turned out because I was so upset with how they were treating Reggie. That dude just saved your entire family. You give him the grill. Like, he is a hero, and he finally gets the grill. But I was actually upset. I'm like, you cannot play him off anymore after that action scene.
And Reggie has the most nuanced acting of anyone in this film because he comes up and finally smiles. We have only seen him have that blank look on his face even through the big action scene, but now that he gets the grill, he gives this knowing smile to the camera, breaking the fourth wall a little bit, and I'm like, that is a good note to go out on. Reggie's the man. But hey, Reggie's smiling. Are you? Is it ride or is it die? Jacob.
I mean, it's a ride, but there's some potholes along the way. Like, that is not a smooth road. It needs some work done on it for sure. But I like the trip going along the way. Again, this is a mess of a film. It's going to change, like, references every couple of scenes, and I'm never really sure, like, what the through line is. Is this a body switch movie where Marcus is becoming Mike and Mike is learning how to become a family man? Kind of. Maybe it's there. Like, that's how I feel about everything with this film. Kind of. Maybe that's what they were going for. But at the end of the day, like, I like seeing that car on fire drive around. Pretty good scene in that copter where they're trying to save Armando. At the end, big battle scene, it's not that big. It's pretty limited, but there's an albino alligator. And look, Martin Lawrence made me laugh throughout this film. Like, he gave me a good time. He entertained. So I've never been a big Bad Boys fan. I didn't like this until part 3 where, yeah, it was about the bad boys learning that maybe they have some things to learn. And this feels like a bunch of dad jokes, but I like Martin Lawrence telling dad jokes. Maybe I should go back and and watch a sitcom. Maybe it still holds up. I don't know. But he is the reason to see this. People saying comedies are dead in the theaters. Well, here's one, like, again, maybe not the greatest action film, but pretty good comedy. Like, I'm going to give this one a mild recommend. It was a good time.
Stuart.
I think I have the same review, and I'm going to say die. And not because I hated this movie. Not because I thought it was really terrible, but just that, it's tired. It's time to let go of this. I think they're not boys anymore. They already processed growing into middle age, and this just looks feeble. I mean, it is old stars, old jokes, old 80s songs remixed by DJ Khaled and Black Eyed Peas.
And Reba.
And apparently Reba McEntire, the avatar of youthful music. Yeah, again, maybe that's enough for you. Again, nostalgia. If you want to see old people remember when, yes, I think that this movie works better as a relaunch of Martin. You know how sometimes they bring sitcoms back like 20 years later? It feels like a better Martin episode than it does to a sequel to Michael Bay or What We Got Last Time. I mean, they've slipped. You must admit that, Jacob. This is a real come down.
No, it's not as good as 3, but 3 is the only one that I've liked.
Yes, and it's the only one I like. This is a come down from where they were. They decided to turn their back on all their ideas about how to expand this and give new characters meaning, and it just ends up being a Martin Lawrence stand-up act with Will Smith kind of giving an assist every now and then. Smith had more to gain from this, and I'm just shocked that he didn't want to charm, that he did not want to have chemistry with his wife, that his whole storyline here is lesser than Joe Pantoliano's. And again, I'm with Armando. Ditch Dad. He's a real pill. Go find another movie where you can be youthful and cool, because this one isn't going to give it to you. And so I would say probably a not recommend because it's a bad action movie. But yes, if you want Martin Lawrence stand-up, go ahead and ride the ride. But I'm going to say, well, one thing is true. We finally have an answer for the theme song. Bad Boys, what you going to do when they come for you? You're going to cringe. This movie is full of cringy old man comedy.
So I'm the deciding vote on if they ride or if they die, huh?
Yes. Or are you just or?
Maybe I am because when I walked out of this movie the first time, I knew I was disappointed, but I kind of had a shrug of whatever, because I did laugh at some of the stuff, both Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Will Smith's always been the straight man and Martin Lawrence the wacky one, but their interplay, the scenes, I do think the funniest ones are probably in the trailer, other than when Mike's a donkey or Mike's gonna be a pair of shoes and Martin's gonna step in some funky shit. But I really had a lot of problems with characters, with motivation, and my feeling the first time is that this movie had too many characters and none of them were given anything to do. We had Dorn, we had Kelly, we had Rita, we had Armando, and then on the bad guy side, we had McGrath, we had Lockwood. I'm just trying to figure out what everybody is doing, and I'm not getting a hold on anybody's arcs or threads, and really a lot of them are just paper thin. And Captain Howard was paper thin too, let's not forget, but that's fine because he was just the chief at the office there to yell at the bad boys. And now we have people who are supposed to be partners and are in on this plot, and I just don't get it. And so coming in a second time and watching it did make me realize that not only are the characters paper thin, but the action is pretty anemic too. If you want a Bad Boys film from Michael Bay, you are not going to get it here. It even pales compared to Bad Boys 3, which doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. So yeah, it had a few chuckles, but overall, I found the film, especially on a second viewing, to be dull. The characters were uninteresting. The character arcs were thin. Nothing enthralled me in this film, and a lot pissed me off. I was actually actively angry at some of the writing of this movie. And I wasn't entirely surprised to find out that one of the writers on this, Will Beall, wrote Aquaman and is credited for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Guy's a messy writer. He brought a mess here. I'm going to say die for Bad Boys 4. And maybe it's the anti-Star Trek. Maybe the odd-numbered bad boys are the good ones and the even-numbered bad boys are the missteps.
No, the non-Michael Bay ones are the good ones.
Yeah, well, that's the question. I'm really most curious about Arnie. So is this the worst one for you, or is 2 the stinker still?
2 is still the stinker, especially on rewatching it. But you know what? 2 had better action. I've got to give it that. With the cars and everything on the highway.
I agree.
2 has much better action, but these 2 are in a race for the bottom. But I'd say this one is kind of a weaker not recommend. But I gave them both 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. They're both right there in the I don't hate them, but I don't recommend them level.
3's the only one I recommend. 1 is just formula. You know, I didn't care for it. 4 is stale formula. It's like watching older people do that same movie, remake it. And then 2 is just, uncut basiness that you'll OD on. Easily the worst. But again, I didn't hate this movie, but it really does let you down. And again, you're only going to like it. You're only going to take that ride for Martin Lawrence, which is such a strange thing since I had considered him dead weight after the 3rd movie.
I'm not sure there's a lot of Martin Lawrence fans. I don't know if there are Will Smith fans. I'm sure there are, but I don't know how many dropped him post-slap. But Martin Lawrence hasn't had a whole lot of glory days lately.
No.
So I don't know if there's a huge Martin fan base out there.
No, that's what surprised me. Like, who is Martin Lawrence in 2024? He can still tell jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently.
He might get a Black Knight 2 out of it, maybe on Netflix.
Big Mama House 4 or something? Yeah.
There you go. There's a series we haven't done yet.
So that is it for the Bad Boys. Next week, we've got another couple of B's, A Bag of Bones. We're going back to the Stephen King retrospective.
There's something that never lets me down.
You should have enjoyed this movie while you can still enjoy movies, because, Stephen King has not been that.
And Friday, we get Crow 4. I'm also going to love.
Ooh, see, you guys should have really appreciated this more.
Crow 4, Wicked Prayer. You know, say a prayer for us hosts, because we have an Edward Furlong film with David Boreanaz as the bad guy who's partnering up with Tara Reid. This is going to be something, and we got Dennis Hopper and Danny Trejo in the mix.
If this film kills me, I think I'll get to come back and get my revenge on the directors. That's how Crow mythology works, right?
Well, if I don't have much hope for the future, I can at least give a shout out to the people that have supported us and keep showing up for us to listen to us hate on these movies.
Yes, thank you to our patrons of $50 or more on Patreon who just incredible support. We thank you so much.
Yeah, all these people are on my ride list. I want to thank Mark G, A.T. White, Nath Williams, Lucas Dosher, Lee Addison, Rihanna Rail, Lee Drag, Jeff Gannon, Jeffrey Gadrew, Joshua Klein, Martin D. Hibbets, Alexis, Mike Patterson, and Greg LaTour Yates.
Don't forget about A. Nick Hosick, Jeremy Mills, Sean O'Keefe, Zachary Mordo, Eileen Rivero, Michael Windsor, Chris Hargrave, Tim Welsh, Lucy Rodriguez, Gerard Lavelle, and John M. McKittrick.
And I'm going to shout out to my ride or dies, Timothy Graham, Simon Brennan, Alejandro Avila, Dale Winters, Tom Ward, Sean Burgess, Julian Lewis, Waji Bader, Kent Lyons, Andrew Doran, Trevor Harrison, Sean Williams, and Jeff Wade. Thank you all so much. And we hope you're enjoying all those bonus shows on Friday, including this Friday's Crow 4. So thank you for your support of Now Playing. You guys keep us riding. Without the support of donors and patrons, we would die. Thank you for listening to Now Playing. Jacob Stewart, thank you for joining me. As we ride together, we die together. Now Playing for life.
I'ma tell you, I love you, man.
Yeah, you know you always be getting emotional after gunfights.
It's because I'm glad we survived. Shit. What you talking about?
I love you too, man. Don't be looking at me. I said, yeah, I love you. I said that shit.
You my boy, man.
Nah, you like my brother, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Now Playing's Bad Boys Retrospective Series.
Whoa, that was good. Hey, you one of those guys, huh? In and out.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
Oh, that one puckered up my butthole.
For more movie review podcasts, visit the NowPlayingPodcast.com archives. There you'll find hundreds of film reviews including Die Hard, John Wick, the Jason Bourne series, Kingsman, Machete, the Marvel Comics movies, and more. And come back each week for another new movie review.
Oh, these dudes is off the chain.
Now Playing relies on listener support to keep operating.
This is what I need. I need a SWAT team, helicopters. We're calling all cars here, baby.
You can join the Now Playing patron campaign. Patrons of $10 or more get a new exclusive movie review every month, plus even more perks, including one where you can pick a movie for our hosts to review. Find the details on our website.
You just remember one thing, my friend. I may not always be here.
You can also follow Now Playing on Facebook and Twitter, where the hosts post new episode announcements, movie reviews, and contests, where you can win movies and soundtracks.
Hey, man, work your magic. You say you're a computer whiz?
You can also help Now Playing by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. A link to Now Playing's iTunes listing can be found at nowplayingpodcast.com.
My shit always works sometimes.
Now Playing Podcast is produced and edited by Arnie Carvalho.
Whoa! I am way too unstable for that bullshit. Stop all the goddamn movement. Everybody stop moving.
Associate produced by Jason.
Just do what you do, only faster.
Now Playing's Bad Boys series credit narration by Brock.
He doesn't talk that way. Talk like him, like him. Try to talk sexy. Come on. You don't sound sexy enough.
The Bad Boys films, all audio clips, and music used are the property of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended. This podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created or produced the well-known Bad Boys films. Now Playing is an independent movie review podcast with no affiliation with any company involved in the publishing, creating, or distribution of that film series.
I'm not trying to lose my job on this one.
The opinions expressed in Now Playing are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the opinion of Venganza Media Incorporated.
You got the right to remain silent. Anything you say can will be used against you in a court of law. Yo, man, what the fuck is you doing? Getting it out the way.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2024. All rights reserved, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Dog, this is what we do.
Now that's how you supposed to drive. From now on, that's how you drive.
I mean, I always say it is the best movie I saw in theaters in 2020.
I mean, what else was there? I think Fantasy Island and Tenet were the only other things I saw.
I believe Invisible Man, and there was that one Red State, Blue State movie.
The Hunt.
Oh, yes.
The Hunt was the last film I saw until I think The New Mutants.
Mm-hmm. What happened to Charles Melton? Got too good for it, I guess.
He got that DJ career off the ground that he was trying to do in the last film.
Okay.
You mean he stands behind a laptop and plays music?
And is a hype man.
Come at me, DJs. My snacks are your snacks.
Yes.
Audience loved it.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I misheard it. I thought he said, my snatch is your snatch. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
wait, what?
That's Tiffany Haddish's line.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I realized he said snacks, not snatch.
Woosha!